Tonight on Panorama, North Korea's modern-day slave trade.
You're treated like a dog here, and you have to eat trash. You have to give up being human. This is what working here means.
150,000 workers sent abroad to raise billions for the regime.
At the moment, everything goes to our captain.
Hidden cameras capture Korean work gangs in China, Russia, and even in Europe.
They're very hard-working. Daytime, nighttime, it doesn't matter to them. All the time. So we have to have them.
Much of their earnings ploughed into North Korea's nuclear weapons.
Anybody who is working, doesn't have access to the salary, has their travel documents taken away, are enslaved.
It's a case of contemporary slavery. These are people who have nowhere else to go.
North Korea, one of the poorest countries in the world. The average wage here is less than £3 a month. Its dictator, Kim Jong-un, ensures few North Koreans ever travel abroad. This is the story of those who do. Secret gangs of workers dispatched by their government to building sites, factories and shipyards across the world, earning over £1 billion a year that's sent straight back home to the regime.
For 30 years, countless laborers have been working abroad, sending hard-earned money back to North Korea.
This man was North Korea's deputy ambassador in London until he defected in 2016.
If this money had been used for peaceful economic development, the economy would be in a much better place. So where did all that money go? Well, it financed the private luxury of the Kim family, the nuclear program, and the army. And that's the truth.
A consortium of international journalists has been investigating the story for 2 years. Their undercover filming ended last October and reveals the extent of the regime's secret slave gangs.
They are an export commodity. They are people who are being sent abroad to work, to earn money, to send back to North Korea. And some, if not all of that money, is going to end up supporting the nuclear ambition of the leadership.
The film will end in the EU, but starts in Russia, where it's believed that up to 40,000 North Koreans are working. They're reported to have helped build stadiums for this summer's World Cup. Vladivostok is one of the country's largest ports, just a few hours from the North Korean border. The teams heard North Koreans are being used to help construct apartment blocks. Acting as flat buyers, we tried to see if the rumors are true.
몇 명 정도나 일하세요?
한 10명 정도?
이 일 끝나면 여기 얼마씩 받으세요?
글쎄, 지금은 모든 것이 우리 선정에 간다.
아파트단 책임자. 책임자는 러시아 사람이에요? 아니면
아니,
가족분들?
북한 사람. 난 이만 바빠서.
He suggested the workers don't get to keep their own wages. But he seemed frightened to be talking to a stranger, so we left. Heading inside, it didn't take long to find more North Koreans.
아이고, 고생하십니다.
네, 안녕하세요.
선생님 고향이 어디세요?
평양이요.
평양? 무슨 구역에서 왔어요? 낙랑구역 한번 갔었는데.
여기만 계속 있는데 제가 뭘 알겠어요.
Then the foreman appears, a North Korean. It was time to leave. None of the North Koreans here would speak openly. But later, remarkably, one man did agree to talk to our Korean journalist. Like all the North Korean workers we interviewed, he can't be identified. Speaking out could result in a death sentence.
You're treated like a dog here, and you have to eat trash. You have to give up being human. This is what working here means.
He's just finished a night shift. Despite the long hours, he says, the workers earn little for themselves.
There are some who make $50 a month for themselves, some who make $100, and some who make nothing. There are many who slip into the red and return home with debts. The fact that people earn so little is due to a mandatory fee. Some call it party duty, others call it revolutionary duty. Those who can't pay it cannot stay here. 10 years ago, it was about 15,000 rubles a month. By now, it's twice as much. Right now, I have to pay 30,000 rubles. But this year, the amount will probably rise to 50,000 rubles a month.
Later, the team meets up with another North Korean. He fled his work brigade more than 10 years ago and now lives in hiding. He says to earn money for themselves, North Koreans have to take on extra work if they can pay off their bosses.
People who are here for the second or third time know their way around, and they bribe the manager to let them take on other work. The workday is like this. You work from morning till the end of your shift. Then, in the evening, you work on other construction sites for the Russians. And you work there till morning, all night long, because that's your real source of income.
You work your day job because you have to pay the state, and then you have to make sure you and your family survive because the state can't take care of you. So you work in the evenings, you work in the weekends.
The team discovers more than 100 North Koreans on local websites advertising for extra work.
Here, Koreans. That means North Koreans, a North Korean worker. Apartments and offices, refurbishments, not expensive, good quality, Vladivostok.
To find out more, the team rents a rundown flat, installs cameras and hires North Koreans to do some renovation work.
어디서 오셨어요?
평양.
일하는 사람은 몇 명 정도 됩니까?
아무래도 매해 한 700~800명 정도 되죠. 여기 블라디보스톡 근처에만 그 정도 됩니다. 한 달에 여기서 10만 원 정도는 벌어야 해요. 그래야 어느 정도는 국가에 바치고 아이들한테 보내죠. 막말로 여기에 있는 게 조국보다 나아요. 가족만 아니었어도. 하지만 상황이 이런 걸 어쩌겠어요. 나같이 외국에서 일하는 사람이 많으니까 그나마 좀 외화가 있는 거죠.
Kim Jong-un is desperately short of foreign currency. UN sanctions have restricted North Korea's export trade since its first nuclear test 12 years ago. This former South Korean official says that's why the money earned by migrants is so crucial to the North's nuclear program.
To develop nuclear weapons, they need to pay for parts and materials that can't be made in North Korea. The North Korean economy is so basic, they can't themselves produce the parts that require advanced technology.
And the £1 billion a year raised by the work gangs also helps fund Kim Jong-un's luxury lifestyle, what's known as the palace economy.
The North Korean economy is divided into a palace economy and the public economy, and it's significant that the scale of the palace economy is by far outstandingly bigger.
Kim Jong-un has few allies. China is his closest. It's thought more than 100,000 North Koreans are working here, more than in any other country. China's Dandong region borders North Korea. Recruitment fairs connect North Korean workers with Chinese employers. An opportunity to go undercover again, this time as business people keen to take advantage of cheap labour. The manager of a seafood factory is happy to show us around. He says he prefers North Koreans to Chinese workers. They cost less and they work harder. The women sleep on site, he says, and they only leave the premises once a month. And as in Russia, we're told, they don't get to keep their wages. It's party money, not for the workers who earned it. Later, a North Korean official agrees to meet us, believing we are a potential employer. We ask if we could pay the workers directly.
That's impossible. It's against the rules. Employers cannot pay the workers directly.
And what happens if a worker demands direct payment?
He will be dismissed and called back to North Korea. There, he will have to face the consequences. Everyone wants to work abroad, but you can't get a job easily. Only people with a clean background can go. But who can be really clean? So you need to lie. North Koreans are very keen to come here to China to work as cheap labourers.
In North Korea, most people live in desperate poverty. Life is so hard, working abroad in a labour gang is seen as an escape.
You have one of two choices. Do you stay in North Korea where you may have no work at all, you may be earning nothing at all, you may be struggling to feed yourself or your family, or do you take what we might consider to be a terrible option, but it's actually better than the option that they have back home?
The system's designed to stop them defecting once they are abroad.
Foreign North Korean laborers are selected to go abroad. They must pass an ideological test, which mainly consists of a family background check. So you need to have a family, preferably 2 children, who remain in North Korea. So if you would defect, if you would escape, your family would pay the price.
Thousands of miles away from North Korea, and much closer to home, we found evidence of work gangs inside the European Union. In Polish shipyards, it's thought around 800 North Koreans are working mostly as welders and labourers. In 2014, a North Korean welder died at this shipyard in Gdynia, northern Poland. He was working unsupervised and not wearing flame-proof clothing.
He was there alone. You should never be alone in such circumstances. There needs to be somebody to help you, especially in cases like this. So he was set afire, and his clothes lit like a Christmas tree. And he came stumbling out as a human torch. His co-workers tried to douse the fire, to put out the fire. They couldn't.
The shipyard say the clothing issued to the welder was appropriate and complied with European standards. But the death put a stop to North Koreans working in Gdynia. So what happened to them? One agrees to speak to our reporter. Again, he insists on anonymity.
So why did you have to leave?
I worked at this shipyard in Gdynia. We used to get orders from a company. But now they didn't like North Koreans working on their ships. They stopped us going to work and finally cancelled our contracts.
He says that he and other North Koreans kicked out of Gdynia have now found new work in other Polish cities. And here too they have to pay the so-called party duty.
We haven't been paid for 2 months. Anyway, you know our wages all go somewhere else. We only end up with a small amount in our pockets. And from that we need to pay party duty and food bills. So I can hardly make ends meet. I'll be in trouble if I get caught talking to you.
Our undercover team goes looking for more North Korean labourers. We've come to Szczecin, one of Poland's largest shipbuilding cities. Dockyards here are fighting to survive. The pressure on wages is relentless. Inside this office are certificates for all companies registered in Szczecin. One company catches our eye, a contractor called Red Shield. Its chairman has a Korean name, Pak Jong-ho, and it employs welders. But where do they work? We checked out the nearby partner shipyard, specializing in shipbuilding and repair. Our undercover team arrives in their van, posing as representatives of a recruitment agency. At the main gate, they meet a friendly security guard.
O, dzień dobry. Mam takie pytanie. Jestem z agencji pracy Howeko i szukam ludzi do pracy, bo słyszałam właśnie, że tutaj są i chciałabym z nimi porozmawiać.
To są Koreańcy, bo to jest spółka. Ona jest tu, oni po całym Szczecinie robią, bo oni i tu robią, i w innych firmach. To jest spółka w Polsce założona przez Koreańców. Dzień dobry. Kluczu chcę i więcej nic nie umiem.
Aha. A oni są z Korei Północnej czy Południowej?
No z tej gorszej.
Z tej północnej Korei.
Im nawet nie wolno. On się boi, że coś zaraz ich podpieprzy się.
Ale co, mają jakieś kary czy coś?
To u nich jest dyscyplina, tak jak kiedyś było na za komuny. No, nie wie pani, że nie wolno nic, bo się może go przyciągnąć na zachód. Tak mają nakazane, on nie chce rozmawiać, on tylko ma robić, więcej nic.
A tu idzie jakiś, czy to nie jest Koreańczyk przypadkiem?
To jest on.
O, okej.
It turns out the foreman is a North Korean.
Dzień dobry, czy pan mówi po polsku?
Tak.
Bo my mamy agencję pracy, ja się nazywam Magdalena, to jest nasz inwestor, szukamy ludzi do pracy.
He listens and then decides to call in his boss, the chairman.
Zaraz nasz prezes tam idzie tam.
Aha.
Tutaj współpracujemy z tą stocznią, partnerem i oni dobrze wiedzą, nie? Z czego oni mają korzyść, nie? Bo nasi chłopaki, pracownicy zawsze stacjonują w Polsce i tylko biorą takie urlop, bezpłatny, termin wykonania jakiegoś tam przedmiotu.
Tak.
Jak ciągle, to możemy zapełniać, nie? Nie tak jak Polacy 8 godzin robią i to pójdą, nie? Tak jak potrzeby to...
Tak, nawet dłużej pracują?
No,
po ile godzin na przykład?
Na przykład po 10, po 12. I jeszcze tam bez przerwy na przykład to...
Dzień dobry.
The boss arrives. The foreman tells him what's happening.
여기 아시아에서 온 사람들이 정말로 전문가라고 듣고 왔는데
작업 대상은 어디서 일해야 되나?
No chcielibyśmy, żeby były w Polsce, częściowo, ale też w Hamburgu, w stoczniach niemieckich.
그러니까 우리는 폴스카 육내에서만 일할 수 있지 이렇게 밖으로 나갈 수 없다. 그 대상자가 이거 파트너니까 파트너 본사 가서 털어나는 게 더 좋을 거다.
But suddenly the friendly security guard reappears. He now wants us to leave.
Mówią, że tu, czemu ja tu wpuściłem obcych ludzi. Już mam telefon od...
We receive a company business card. Pak Jong-ho. It's the Korean name we'd seen at the commercial registry office. He's the chairman of Red Shield. It seems the North Koreans are running a registered company in Poland. Its teams work long hours, live on site, and have few freedoms.
Anybody who is working doesn't have access to the salary that they are earning, has their travel documents taken away, works the kinds of hours that these workers are alleged to work, are enslaved. There's no question about it.
If you would ask me, it's a case of contemporary slavery. These are people who have nowhere else to go, who can't quit their jobs, who can't say no to anything that's asked of them, and they don't get paid for it.
The North Korean embassy in Warsaw told us that its citizens are working in compliance with Polish law and EU regulations. What it describes as false information about Korean workers is invented, it says, by departments of psychological warfare of the US and South Korean intelligence. The Polish government says regular checks are carried out and there's no evidence of forced labour or that earnings are sent back to North Korea. It says Poland has now stopped issuing new work permits to North Koreans.
The insistence of the Polish government that there is nothing wrong is the insistence of a government that either does not know what's going on or chooses not to know what's going on in their own backyard. It's quite clear that the employment of North Koreans in Poland is a case of exploitation.
Back at the shipyard, we've been invited to meet the manager of another company called JMA.
Dzień dobry. Dzień dobry. Ich bin Geschäftsführer bei der Firma JMA. Das ist eine Tochtergesellschaft, die für Export verantwortlich ist von der Partnerconsortium. Partnerconsortium ist ein Holding, das ist eine Nutzer. Leute beschäftigt sind so gegen 300 Leute. Die Hälfte sind Polen, die Hälfte sind Ausländer. Meistens Ukraine, Usbekistan, manchmal noch ein bisschen aus Vietnam und Korea.
He takes us on a tour of the shipyard.
Hier in diesem Gebäude wohnen die Asiaten und die Ukrainer zum Beispiel. Das ist unser Hotel für die Jungs.
Die wohnen ja gleich sozusagen am Arbeitsplatz.
Ja, damit die nicht zu viel wandern müssen, weil wenn die zum Beispiel in der Stadt wohnen würden, dann nach dem Wochenende, ich weiß nicht, ob die den Weg finden würden. Und hier ist okay.
Also, ob sie zurückkommen
alles unter Kontrolle irgendwie, ja. Hier auch, ja. Sehr fleißig und also wenn Sie die Polen fragen, ob die am Samstag oder Sonntag kommen, nein, keine Chance, nein, ich muss trinken und so weiter. Wenn Sie die Asiaten fragen, kein Problem, in der Sonne, in der Nacht, egal, immer, ja. Also, wir müssen die haben.
Kriegen die dann Schichtzulage oder Wochenendzulage, dass sie so arbeiten? Oder
das fragen Sie mich schon zu viel, das ist internal Know-how.
Okay.
Ein Geheimnis.
Later, in statements, both Partner Shipyard and JMA denied employing North Korean workers. JMA added, "According to our knowledge, all employees are employed legally and work according to the current laws." In North Korea, the nuclear weapons program dramatically escalated last year.
시험에서 단번에 성공함으로써 국방공업 건설사에 특기할 또 하나의 사변적인 기적을 창조했습니다.
But this has brought direct consequences for the country.
The price the North Korean leadership will pay for its continued nuclear and missile development will be the loss of 1/3 of its exports and hard currency. This is the most stringent set of sanctions on any country in a generation.
And even tougher sanctions agreed in December promised to stop the North Korean migrant trade completely. But host countries were given 2 years to comply.
We must ask whether these sanctions are sufficient to prevent North Korea from developing nuclear missiles. I believe, of course, that the answer to this question is no.
So why did the UN not put an immediate stop to North Korean migrant work? Many analysts believe it's because of powerful vested interests on the Security Council.
Well, I think there are two reasons, Russia and China. And those are, coincidentally or not so coincidentally, also the two largest hosts of North Korean workers. So they make lots of money by using these North Korean workers. Both states are loath, I think, to let this go.
Meanwhile, back at a stormy Polish dockyard, there's uncertainty for the North Korean who lost his job at Gdynia.
가족은 보고 싶지 않나요?
당연히 보고 싶지.
가족들이랑 통화는 가능한가요?
아니, 그건 불가능해. 평양에서 외부로부터 걸려오는 전화를 막아버려. 나는 늘 가족을 위해서 희생해왔어. 그렇기 때문에 폴란드로 오기도 했고. 하지만 받는 돈이 너무 적어. 그게 문제라고. 우리는 다 단체 생활을 해야 해. 자유가 없어. 이 상황을 잊기 위해 술을 마셔야 하는 거야.
The undercover team has a final meeting with the Polish manager of JMA. He tells them that it's getting harder to get permits for North Koreans, but he defends the practice.
People say that this is all supporting the regime, and people don't like that. We understand that. But on the other hand, if ordinary workers get something out of it, whether they get some is another question. But if they get anything, then that's a good thing, because they get a glimpse of the world, and then they get a few zloty or a few dollars, and this probably helps the entire family.
There is no doubt that the wages earned by workers abroad help families in North Korea survive. But should we drop the sanctions for that? How else are we going to stop North Korea's steady progress in the field of nuclear technology and intercontinental missiles?
And by the way, Rocket Man should have been handled a long time ago.
Now, despite trading insults, the two leaders are planning a possible summit. Migrant labour may be discussed, but the main issue will be potential nuclear confrontation.
You're talking about two highly unpredictable people. We're in perhaps unprecedented territory. It'd be a brave person to predict where we'll be in 6 or 9 months' time.
Maybe something gets worked out, and maybe it doesn't.
With the personalities involved playing for high stakes, many observers say it's possible that the UN's new tough sanctions may never be enforced. What happens next to more than 150,000 enslaved North Koreans is as unpredictable as the men who hold the power over their future.
Only the toughest will make it through training. The secret agent selection continues on BBC Two in a moment. Next here on BBC One, giving a young para-athlete with Olympic dreams his independence by transforming his home. DIY SOS, the big build.